The best way to logically define life, I feel, is by using the analogy of life is like a puzzle, where you try to put the pieces together. Now, the problem with that is religion looks at the box and says, well, that's Justin Bieber. Why do we need to put this puzzle together? You know, when you put it together, it's going to be Justin Bieber. It's pointless to put this puzzle together because you can look at the box and you know it's Justin Bieber. Now, that might make sense to you because you put other puzzles together and you notice that consistency. But what science says is, you know what? Let's put this puzzle together. What's it going to hurt? Let's try to figure this out. And when you put the pieces together, you start noticing that it's kind of consistent what you would expect with the puzzle for Justin Bieber, until you notice that it's not Justin Bieber, it's Dora the Explorer. And that's kind of how I look at science and religion, where science is trying to put the puzzle together, and religion looks at the box and they're just satisfied with what they see point blank. But at the end of the day, it is your civil right to believe in whatever you want to believe. I want you to take a second to ponder this. Between religion and science, I would like you to try to subtract one. Imagine living in a world without religion. And I want you to also imagine living in a world without science. Now, it seems like it's obvious which one is more crucial to our civilization, but deists and creationists will debate you. Now, we know science has provided electricity, they've provided medicine, they've provided internet information. I mean, I'm speechless and my mind can't even begin to conjugate things that science has contributed to society, because it's so much that you don't even know where to start. And when it comes to religion, I mean, it's beautiful artwork and they got a little swag wardrobe, you know. But besides that, I don't see anything that you can say, okay, without religion, we wouldn't have this. I'm so glad we have religion. So I pose this same question to two different creationists. Now, the first creationist, he responds by saying this. Excuse me. That when he goes to church, he pays his tithes. And this month, his electric bill was lower because he paid his tithes. I was in awe. So I asked him to repeat that answer to just make sure that I was hearing that correctly. Because, you know, sometimes you hear what you want to hear. But in that instance, he repeated the same thing, that he went to church, he paid his tithes, and God lowered his electric bill. And I asked one last time, I'm like, so you're telling me that because you went to church and put $10 in the offering, God decided to lower your electric bill? He says yes with all the confidence in his eyes. And I was just thrown on the floor because, I mean, there's so many things you could look into. I presented the idea that, okay, maybe you use less electricity this month, or maybe you use more electricity last month. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go about that. And he's like, no, God lowered my bill because I paid my tithes in church. That's what God will do to you. And I mean, I just really left it at that, because first of all, that was not consistent with the question I asked, you know, without religion, what would you have without religion? And then he tells me that he paid his tithes in church, so his electric bill is lower. And then the second creationist has to almost top that. I mean, this seems kind of consistent with both the answers, but the second one really tops it off. So the second creationist says that he was driving, and God told him to take his foot off the gas pedal. So he starts slowing down. Sure enough, he comes around a corner, and there's a cop there. God saved him from getting a ticket. That's what God will do to you. 9 million 5-year-olds die every year, but God will talk to this man and tell him to slow down, to stop him from getting a $100 ticket. Now, I asked him, I'm like, okay, have you ever been on the highway and you feel like you're going maybe 80, 85 miles an hour? You're like, oh, I might need to slow down. and you look at the, the speedometer and you notice that you are going to 80, you're like, hey, let me slow down. Your conscience tells you to slow down. Have you ever had that happen? And he complies. He's like, oh yeah, all the time, I can tell, like, okay, I might be speeding, so, I'll slow down. Like, you don't think that was the same instance? He's like, no, God told me to slow down so I wouldn't get a ticket. If God hadn't told me to slow down, I would have gotten a ticket. I'm like, okay. So that is my submission. I really don't know how to end that. I was in complete awe at those answers. I just felt like I had to share that.